It's actually March, but
you guys are what? Hold on. What did I do? Just tell me what I did, and I'll apologize. I will repent
It's like
of
the
whatever
perfect hook
sin.
for a video.
Just tell me. Just tell me. Gosh, unnecessary pressure. All right, let's get into it. Dr. Barry's, we've acquired a brand. We've had quite the month on things outside of Dr. Barry's, but inside of the fund that we can't share here. But I do think, I did talk to, actually, this reminds me of a conversation I had with Deacon. So I am actually interested about something between you two. For the February month, we're in March. It's March the 5th. Really quick, I know both of you know the answer to this, but I am interested to see how you guys perceive it. Because before this call, they both attacked me. So now I'm going to pit them against one another and try. This is a coup of myself by myself. So what were the numbers from the last 30 days, or just February's numbers? Let's just top line, bottom line. What were the numbers?
Top line, 23,000 on Amazon, 2,500 on Shopify.
23,000. Okay, and 2,500. And then bottom line, Deacon.
I actually don't have bottom line because I haven't finished the books for February.
Yeah. I can give you kind of like a estimated
give them
bottom
a rough
line.
one. I don't have the spreadsheet up.
So about 2,000. We went a little bit exploratory mode in February, pushed some ads a little harder than we usually do just to see what would happen. And, profit went down quite a bit one week, and then we just kind of pulled back and reallocated budgets around. But we've done a couple things that, are a little interesting. We tested some different ads, and some ads are actually showing more promise than we thought it would, even though directly, if you look at the ad platform and look at the results, it's not like, wow, those are great results. But when we look at the grand scheme of things and what's happening in the business overall, they are good results. It's amazing what we're doing with this business because we're growing it like 10 to 20%, depending on the month, because February, shorter month. But we were growing at 20% month over month, but we're keeping the bottom line, the profit, exactly the same.
So, cool. But you said bottom line went down quite a bit. What is quite a bit for the listeners?
Quite a bit for like probably Deacon's approval. So like we went from like 3,500 to 4,000 down to like 2,000. So cut it in half.
Deacon, how did you find out? And what were your feelings and thoughts when you saw that bottom line number?
It wasn't a surprise. We look at this every single Monday. Even when we were both traveling, we look at it every Monday. And so the number I always look at, which we've kind of talked about before, is like what I call gross profit after advertising. So it's like all our income, and then we take out like discounts and refunds, and we take out like cost of goods sold and some fulfillment costs and stuff like that. That gets us to gross margin. Then we take out our marketing spend. So what I'm looking at is essentially like, what do we have left over that covers our OPEX, and our OPEX is pretty low. I forget the number, like
650 a week.
650 a week. A little bit higher now with some strategies that we're doing. But so, at a general week, if I look at that and I'm like, hey, we're over 650, which we're always over 650, except for last week, but that was fine. We're always like well over that. I'm like, cool. Well, we are accumulating cash, a small amount, but like we're doing what we need to do. And so I guess none of this was a surprise. And it was like, we're intentionally running it close to the metal just to create growth.
Was Travis in trouble with you in any way?
I warned him.
Never. No.
Never.
Travis is very considerate of my desires to not run out of money.
It's not really running out of money. It's more just like we don't want to put money into the business to keep it alive. And it's kind of like we're just playing like a game of Monopoly here. It's just like trying to keep enough money in to buy some other stuff. And then we're looking to maybe come out with another product because we don't know if Reflux Essentials is going to be the long-term product. So what do we need to do to get more cash? We need to look for different suppliers. We need to do this. We did have a pretty funny conversation in February though.
Right.
And I'd love to share that with you.
Yeah.
I was like, hey, I'm going to go a little crazy this week on Google Ads. I just want to see what's going to happen if I just spike the budget. And I did. So I increased it by $100 per day, and it was already spending like $100 a day. So we went up to like $250 a day or something like that. And I just wanted to see what would happen. Of course, we got tons of traffic, but it didn't convert as much as I wanted it to. So I decreased it back down to a legit budget. Well, we only profited like $100 that week, but the Facebook ads are showing a lot more promise. And he was spending about $50 a day on those. And I was like, hey, I'm going to turn your Facebook ads up to about $80 a day. And he's like, well, let me get in there, dig into the data a little bit, make some calculations, see if it's going to work long term. And I was like, I already did it. I was like, I turned down Google ads enough that it's going to be okay. And he's like, okay. He was also coming off of COVID or something. So I kind of used that to my advantage.
Yeah, he was really sick.
And we've kept it at $80 a day for Facebook ads. And we've kind of toned, I think Google ads is around $150 a day. And Amazon PPC is like $30 a day now, because we're just building this off Amazon, pretty much perpetual sales machine is what we call it. But we're just creating Google ads and Facebook ads, and we're not doing a lot of work in them, but they're just kind of running on autopilot. And the Facebook ads, as we've continued to scale them, we're actually pushing it over to the Shopify store right now. And our Shopify sales went up 20% too last month. Is it attributed to the Facebook ad? Maybe, but it's also contributed to my Amazon PPC ads going up too, because my main keywords now are all branded keywords. And that's coming from people that are coming off platform to on Amazon and searching our brand name. And that's due to the awareness of Facebook ads. It's due to the awareness of Google ads. And then we're also doing some UGC strategies that we can share a little bit later that are working decently well. We're not doing it for sales. We're doing it for awareness. And then we ask these creators that post on TikTok and Instagram, hey, would you mind leaving us a review on Amazon? We don't pay them for the review. We don't tell them to leave a 5-star review. We just say, hey, would you mind leaving a review over here on Amazon? And that's getting us more reviews. And then it's also getting us more clout because they're posting on their TikToks and Instagrams and everything.
That only makes me ask, I have 2 questions from that. For Deacon, what do you guys want to do with the profit? What do you guys plan on doing with the profit that you guys make? Is it just sitting in a bank account, Scrooge McDuck? Or is it like, no, we know exactly, like obviously there's like tax savings and stuff like that, but it's like, what is there a bigger plan, or is it just like not meaningful enough to even consider that? You just are kind of like, what do you guys do with that?
If we were to just take all this cash out and Scrooge McDuck it would be hilarious, because we would have like just several dollars we'd just be rolling in. There's not a whole lot of profit left over, and that's by design at this stage. Travis, I learned this from you, like as we were coming into the business, you were essentially like, look, we're going to run this with no profit. Take us through like how this is, like if you were to extrapolate out to someday when this business is worth a lot of money, like why are we trying to not make money right now?
Yeah, so it's such a small business, and I like to start taking money out of businesses when they're doing probably $1 million or more. And you can get to $1 million a lot faster when you don't take money out of the business and you just pump it all back in. But you have to do it intelligently. Like you can't just like throw money at advertising that's not working, throw money at a strategy that's not working, throw money at products that aren't working. And that's what we saw previously with this brand. 7 SKUs, MOQs of 8,000 units. So you're talking about orders of $30,000, $40,000, and you have 7 SKUs, and you're wondering why you don't have cash. That's why. And so we're trying to figure out how we can reduce the MOQs so we have more cash. So then we can come out with either more advertising to boost Reflux Essentials, or to come out with more products. Because like I said, I think it's crazy for me to say this, but we're growing 20% month over month, which is great. But I'm still kind of iffy on Reflux Essentials. Like, is it going to be a long-term product for us? And if so, we'll know more about it probably within the next year. And the goal is that continues to scale, not 20% month over month, but more like 30 to 40% year over year. And that alone could be $1 million product, because I mean, we should do 200,000 this year-ish on that product. And if it just continues to grow like that, it will be $1 million product alone in a couple of years. But once we start making more cash on it, then we can even start coming out with more products as a result. And so question was like, what do I project? Once we hit $1 million, we'll start pulling cash out. But my prediction will be that we'll buy a bigger brand first, and Dr. Berry's will just kind of run on autopilot, and we'll just kind of let it go. And on this show, especially, we'll be talking about the new brand.
Yep. Do you feel like when you started ramping up the Google ads, you started ramping it up, and the real question I have here was, did you know that he was sick and you knew he'd be slow to find out? So that's why you did it?
No, we're going to know every Monday regardless. It's one of those things that every Monday we both look at the spreadsheet. I know what I already hear Deacon's voice when I see like, ooh, $100 in profit this week. Ooh, I already hear Deacon saying, what'd you do? No, Deacon doesn't care. Like, he doesn't yell at me. He's just like, okay, experiment tried, failed, try again. I mean, that's how I've had success in every area I've been in, is I've made calculated, small, some big risks, but know when to pull back right away. And you talked to me 6 years ago, I didn't know when to pull back right away. So like 2019, $3.2 million company, $20,000 in profit. That's pretty much $0 in profit, because I didn't have the hard conversations and I didn't know when to pull back or what to pull back, or I didn't have the balls to essentially pull back. It's like like firing a team. That's what I had to do. So yeah, it's a little more calculated now. And to answer your question, yeah.
Cool. Okay, let's talk Reflux Essentials really quick. What about it? Are you guys both feeling this way? Like, I don't know. Is it kind of like, I was talking to a guy the other day. He had like a pretty cool stone, it's like a stone remover, whatever, for guys that get, what is it called? What are those things?
Kidney stones?
Kidney stones. Yes. And it's like, it's harder. It's more challenging to scale those because, one, the customer is looking for immediate relief. Once you get with a bottle, you don't necessarily need another bottle, even though they should, because there's usually another issue going on if you're getting those. But the customer is almost not super problem aware or problem intelligent, I should say. And so is that kind of what you're seeing with Reflux Essentials? Like, the industry or the customer is more aware of just the instant pain, not the long-term thing, and therefore it's hard to scale it? Or is there something else that's making you guys want to move away from Reflux? Not move away from, but focus less on Reflux Essentials?
It's definitely not an acute issue. I've had stomach problems the last year and a half. We can't figure out what it is. Acid reflux is one of those things, like, it is there. It's usually triggered by food, and it's usually triggered by, it's just your body is inflamed. So you're eating something that's causing inflammation, and you're going to love what causes my inflammation, Justice. But inflammation is in there, and you need to decrease the inflammation by eliminating the offending agent. The problem is we're American, and we don't like to eliminate offending agents. We just like to medicate through it.
Hell yeah.
And so when you have even like a product like omeprazole, PPI, a proton pump inhibitor, takes 3 weeks to fully work. So it actually takes some time to fully work, but antacids don't. Antacids work right away. Mm-hmm. So we have a product that takes anywhere from 3 to 6 weeks to work. And so people just don't want to wait. And so it's hard, because we tried to put a little bit of an antacid in there to give you that instant relief, which is great for me, because like when I drink my morning coffee, I take a Reflux Essentials because it neutralizes the acid of it. Plus I drink low acid coffee. But it's one of those things that it's hard to educate the consumer on, like, hey, this is a supplement. It's going to take longer to work. And most of the time when people are searching for acid reflux relief, they're usually a severe case. And so it's very hard to, they take it once and they're just like, didn't work, 1-star review. And so it's a tough market. Any pain market is, especially when you're going after supplements in a pain market. And so it's very hard to convince the consumer to take it long-term when they don't feel the results right away. Like, I took omeprazole. I'm taking omeprazole right now because of my stomach, and it's finally starting to work. And I'm like, wow, my stomach pain is gone. But Guess what caused my stomach pain, Justice?
What?
Greens.
Yep. Get them out of your life.
Greens?
As in
Yes.
spinach, green powder, kale, things like that. I mean, I was a vegetarian for 14 years. All I did was drink green smoothies. So I am green free, and I went from vegetarian to carnivore, and not fully carnivore, but mostly carnivore. And it's amazing because like my stomach pain is reducing, and yeah, it's been interesting.
It's wild. What did I?
So there's
I
hope
watched
for my
something.
5-year-old that also will not eat greens, that he can
Yeah.
live a healthy life.
Yeah. Turns out there's a reason why we're just like, ugh. Like it's interesting. It's very interesting when you look into it. My wife still loves the taste of greens, which I find fascinating. And anyways, this is not about that. Do you feel the same way, Deacon, about Reflex Essentials as why maybe you guys are like maybe I don't even want to say just less focused on it future wise?
Yeah, I wouldn't even say less focused on it. I would say we are open to it not being the hero product.
Got it.
Which I think is important because so many businesses are like fixated on their thing, and there's no room for it to not be the thing, and that can create problems. So I have spent a long time in supplements, and I don't know that I had thought about it at this angle I was thinking about it when Travis was talking, but when I look back, a lot of the stuff. So Travis is like, "Oh yeah, people aren't taking this long term. It's not solving this problem. Like that's a hard thing to sell." And I was thinking, man, I've sold so many supplements that people do use that. And I think greens powder is a perfect example of something that people will habitually take over and over and not immediately experience some sort of like boost or gain. And so I was like, huh, that's interesting. What is it about products like that I've sold millions of dollars with over the years? And I guess the thing that was coming to mind is that those are almost all like aspirational type products. Like I'm going to develop this habit. It is going to transform me into this superhuman who has all these abilities and feels a certain way over time. And you're like very accepting of the overtime part in that case. But when it's like, I have a painful problem, we're immediately like, no overtime. I need this immediately. And so I guess I hadn't tried to sell something that was something that you take over time that also is attacking something that is more chronic that you're trying to get rid of. So maybe that's another way to phrase it, like a going toward versus a going away from. And I had historically sold going toward supplements where you're like going towards this better state, like drinking mud water or your green smoothies or whatever your new habit is. It makes you the super entrepreneur.
And that's with our acquisition that we're working on. Hopefully now it's that kind of brand. It's not a pain market. There is a pain aspect to it, but it's aspirational. It's like, I'm going to take this because it's a great multivitamin, for example.
It's like, because AG1, that's the one that just kind of sticks out. It's like,
it's like there's an identity component of that is totally missing if you're trying to get rid of reflux. And so it's a different sale. And it's a little harder.
Well, then let me ask you this. Would it be, no, you couldn't, because the name of the brand is Dr. Berry's. So it's not like it's like what you're saying, like, hey, it might not be our hero product. Can you guys hint towards what you guys think could be a hero product that you might be leaning to? And again, Doc, you had said like, hey, 6 months to a year from now, we might be focusing on a different product. Right now, we're cool with the way things are. 20%, brand. But even for Dr. Berry, it's like, if things stayed this way for a year, would you guys be just focused on reflux?
I mean, when we first bought the brand, we focused on reflux for a solid 6 months of like testing out articles. Could we do more? Of course we could do more, but I see it all the time in the e-commerce world. Like people just overdo it. Like they over optimize and they overdo everything. And most of the time, the problem that they have is traffic. And so you could always be doing more to get more traffic or to over optimize, but like Reflux Essentials is at a good spot. Could we make it better? Maybe, but it's a lot more work just to see if we could maybe make it better. Not just like the product itself, but I mean like the listings and the conversion and everything. The biggest thing that we're working on right now is reviews. We're trying to get our review rating up. And so that's the thing that we're working on right now. And that's the number one thing that we need to work on. We could do more pictures. Go ahead.
Let me say it this way. Let's say future acquisition, nothing comes up, and this is all you guys have. And you're like, you guys go, look, we obviously are not able to acquire something, whether it's the economy, deal flow. Would you still be going Reflux Essentials? We need to, if we're going to continue to grow this thing aggressively or non-aggressively, would you still just focus on Reflux Essentials?
The machine's there. If we had the extra cash, we'd probably start looking at their other products. I mean, Dr. Berry had probably upwards of close to 20 SKUs. And when we acquired it, they had 7. And so there's more SKUs in the arsenal that we could probably play with. And there it addresses a wide range from Lady Biz, which is like a menopause product. There's Stone Reliever, which is what you talked about earlier, a stone solving product, kidney stones or gallbladder stones. And then there's Libido Link, which is more for like male libidos. What else is there? Respiratory relief. We've looked into that one. The total liver one, we had a lot of that in stock and we like sold it incredibly quick. And I was like, I don't even know what I did to sell this. So, but it just sold because we just started a little bit of advertising. I think it got picked up maybe by an influencer. And I think maybe it was me. I featured it on my Amazon PPC channel, this channel, the Dr. Travis Ziegler channel. And maybe people were like, oh, that looks like a great product and started buying it because that video actually started getting a lot of views. So I don't know what really made it take off, but that one gets good reviews. It's a great product. I took it. I think we've talked about it in previous episodes where I broke out in hives, which is usually the sign of a good liver supplement because you're detoxing and like you're flushing yourself, you're sweating, a little bit of hives, a little bit of redness. But yeah, so
where can I get some?
Yeah. Where do I sign up for this unbelievable miracle drug? Okay, so which one would you lean? Which one, if it was like a year from now, things are 20%, but they're not growing at the scale that you know they could, but you're going, Dr. Berry's is all we've got. What product in the arsenal would you be focusing on?
Me? Liver.
Yeah. You.
Liver.
It's
great product.
Do you feel like it's kind of the same as Reflux Essentials in the sense that
it's not like it's an aspirational product because what you're doing there is most of the time people get it when they're like they've been drinking and so they want their liver to work better, or maybe they've been drinking a lot and they just want their liver to function better, so they need to detox their body. People take it because they may have like a cirrhosis of the liver. They'll take it because there's no direct impact from taking it other than my hives. There's no like my reflux is cured or my reflux is stable now, or you're not like, oh, my cirrhosis liver now feels a lot better.
It's so it'd be more like the multivitamin where you're like, I'm taking this. They said I should take it. I believe it's helping my body, but I don't have like an acute symptom that I have noticed a change in.
Yep. It's more aspirational.
Which one would you lean on, Deacon?
Well, now total liver. But honestly, as Travis was sharing that, I was like, I'm glad he's here to think through the specific products, because what I would basically be doing is, as Travis is like, picking out total liver or respiratory relief we talked about, I'd be just on the supply side, looking at MOQs and costs and all that, and be like, cool, Travis wants this one. Okay, this one's not feasible. He wants this one. Oh, this one we can get it at the right price. We can do so I'm almost like thinking about it from a different lens. If Travis weren't here, and I had to choose a product, oh man, that's tough. I would probably gravitate towards something more in like the digestive area, something else more herbal, because we do have a web property, the GERD Chef, that I would kind of rely on and be like, well, I've already got this traffic, got a similar product. Is there something other than Reflux Essentials? I don't have a formulation for this, but maybe something around like either probiotics or digestive enzymes, I might go towards just to keep it in that same range. What's that?
That's what Reflux Essentials is. Probiotics, digestive enzymes with a little slippery elm, marshmallow root, and a little antacid on top.
The probiotics is quite low. I think we learned this this week.
So a product that I've actually been thinking of lately, because of the way I take Reflux Essentials, and we wouldn't even have to tackle a pain market at all, but it would be addressing a pain, but it would be like claim-free. It would be like just this beautiful claim-free supplement. Don't even have to worry about it. It would be a Reflux Essentials replicated, the exact same product, but instead of Reflux Essentials, we call it Coffee Companion. And it's literally, you just take it with your coffee to help neutralize the acid, because that's how I take it. And so many people drink coffee, but they just deal with the stomach issue, or they take antacids. And so it would be more of like that. So,
Travis, I have a label machine over here. You want me to relabel some bottles, go back into the warehouse?
We should, if we have to do another 8,000 unit order, we should take 1,000 of them and see if they'll label them differently for us, or we can just send them to you to relabel.
Yeah, I got a system now. I'll handle that.
Yeah.
So
that's a great idea.
Bulletproof is doing that now. So Bulletproof Coffee, they have their dark, medium, light roast, and they have all those. And now they have different blends. One's called the Maximizer. The Maximizer is a blend that it's perfect for me, right, Justice? Because like that's what you always say, you're like a maximizer.
Yeah, you are.
And yes, I do drink this coffee. It is bulletproof coffee, and it has slippery elm, I think marshmallow root, and one other digestive factor to help with your stomach, with the lining of your stomach. And I was like, that's pretty genius, actually.
That's cool. Okay. How much of the liver stuff did you guys sell through it? So you'd have to put a new inventory order if you guys
sold through it. Yeah, by last June.
We just found out where it comes from though, and it's low MOQs, and it's something it's totally on the table.
Really?
We just have to have the cash to do it, and then make sure we have the cash to reorder Reflux and Heidel Health.
Got it. Okay, let's talk MOQs. You guys are looking for lower MOQs?
Yeah.
Who's looking? Why? I mean, it sounds like obvious, but why now? Or is it just you guys finally have the capacity to focus on doing that, or did something change?
This all came up when Travis brought up the idea of adding back a product, and just, without getting into specific numbers, because that would be kind of overwhelming. but if you think about it, like, okay, we got this 8,000 unit thing with the purchase of the business. So product, we'd never sold it before, and now we have 8,000 units. This is just from memory, but I think we've probably sold through about half or almost half, and maybe not quite half. I don't know. But we're in the lead time on that was maybe 12 weeks or something. And so if you just look at like cash, like cost of goods sold, cash that we're stockpiling, when you would need to make another order, we're basically looking at about, end of this year. Supposing, things stay the same and we still have it in stock, end of this year, we would have to put in another order for another 8,000 units. To have the cash to do that, we basically need to save all of our cash, like all of it. And then we order like another, 2 years supply or something, 18 months supply. So you have so much cash tied up in that huge inventory order that there's not anything else we can do. Now, if we got a way smaller inventory order, and we're ordering just like a quarter of inventory at a time, like one calendar quarter's worth of inventory, roughly, then we can place those orders more often and have more cash that's not stuck in inventory that we could also add a second product. So looking for a lower MOQ was more of like a balance sheet decision of like, if all of our cash wasn't tied up in this inventory, then we could put some of it into a different product. And to do that, we need lower MOQs. And so we're working on getting some quotes for that. And during that quote process, we found like who sold Total Liver, where we can get that from, what the MOQ was on that. And so yeah, a lot of conversations around that, but that's essentially it, is like a little balance sheet decision.
Whoa. do you guys, how long do you think that process will take? Rough estimation of,
we have so much Reflux Essentials. I wouldn't, even if I found the perfect thing, I wouldn't order anymore until probably the end of the year. So what I'm essentially looking for is the option, like another source at the right MOQ and the right price, so that as I'm setting aside cash, I know that's where I'm going to go next. And then that would say, oh, and if I had that answer, then I could take some of the cash from Reflux Essentials and say, let's get a different product. So I guess I'm kind of just looking for another option.
And I've been sending him about 20 different manufacturers, because it's been like the topic of discussion in our mastermind is like, who do you use? Who do you use? And we're all like sharing our manufacturers information. So like, here you go, Deacon. Here's another one. Here's another one. Here's another one. Hasn't been that many. It's been like 5. But it's also dependent on acquisition. And so we're kind of in the mindset that if we acquire this new brand, it's pretty much going to take all our energy and effort. And we want to acquire a brand anywhere in the 200,000 to 1 million EBITDA range. That's kind of our goal. Obviously, higher EBITDA means we're going to have to pay more, which means more cash up front. Lower EBITDA, the opposite. And that's going to take a lot of our time, no matter how big of the brand, because it's going to be 10 times the size of what we're dealing with now, regardless, like 10 times if it's just 200,000 in EBITDA. And if it's a million in EBITDA, it's going to be even higher. So that's kind of where our pause is like, do we want to focus on a supplement here? Or do we want to see what's going to happen over here with the brands we're trying to acquire? Because I went to an M&A conference last week, a mergers and acquisition conference, and I joined their mastermind. And their mastermind, part of it is to fill our pipeline. And so they're going to create a pipeline for you, Justice, to get on sales calls with these supplement companies just to see if they're going to be a good fit, maybe to work for our agency, or a good fit for us to buy. And so it's kind of like this dual pipeline that we're going to try to create, but we're going at it from a mergers and acquisitions angle, and we're going all in on that. And so do we want to put more effort over here on a product that had some initial success, but it's pretty much a brand new start again? Or do we want to put our effort over here and focus on buying a brand, instantly putting in 200,000 in profit right into Freedom Brands, and then really focusing on that brand and then coming out with more products there? Because I'm going to speak for Deacon, but I would say we're not product designers. That's not really our strong suit. And so when we acquire a brand, we're looking for a brand that has a great product designer in place. And if they do have that product designer in place, we may even try to keep them on board, take everything else off their plate. There's 2 brands that just came into my inbox last night. You guys were CC'd in that email.
Yeah, I saw that.
And the one brand seems big. They haven't sent us any financial data or what they're asking for yet, but the one brand seems big. They've got like, I think 10 products, and they have an influencer that's been around for 20 years, but she's tired. It's her. And it's like, well, what if we just came in there, you stay put, you keep 33% of the company, we take 67% of the company, we take over operations, we take over marketing, you keep designing products, you keep influencing, and we'll take care of the rest. And for an influencer that's running everything, that's huge for them, because I have been in that position where I felt like I was doing everything from marketing, CMO, COO, CEO, and it's exhausting. And she's been doing it for 20 years, which is just insane. And so to get operations and sales in place, to get it off your plate so you don't have to worry about it anymore, is huge. I mean, that's how fireworks start. And that's how like brands just take off, is when you get those 3 pieces. And that's what, like, we get to focus on what we're good at, and then she gets to focus on what she's good at.
Do you, okay. I want to one of my questions as this is going on is like, let's like for 1 second, not 1 second, if no acquisitions came in through over the next year, all we have is Dr. Barry's, right? And you guys would go, okay, screw it. Like, one day we'll acquire a brand. They're just not showing up this year. No worries. We've got Freedom Brands. That's the fund. We've got our first acquisition. Let's go for it on this one. If it's cash strapped, meaning what it's producing is keeping it at break even, and it's only if this was my first brand, I'd be happy with the results, which it seems like you guys are. But that's not why we got into it for, 20% increase on what I'm saying. What would you guys just go get cash from outside and just put it into this and focus on liver? Like, what would you do? Like, would you guys like what would be, does this make sense what I'm asking?
Yeah, I want to hear Deacon's response first.
Yeah, I wouldn't go get cash and put it into a product that we haven't been selling. Like, I would never do that.
Right.
So I would either need to find something that I could try cheap enough, like low MOQs type of things. And I think total liver would be a very low risk thing to try, based on what I've seen on the manufacturing side. So like, but hypothetically, if it was like a custom, another brand new thing like Reflux Essentials that we've never done before with like $30,000 order,
Right.
yeah, I would never go put money in on like and hope it works.
Right.
So I'm trying to decide what I would do. I mean, I think there's a lot we could do on the Reflux Essential side. We talked earlier that we're trying to run it at no profit. So we could definitely, instead of aiming for growth there, we could, tweak our campaigns and just be like, give me all the profit I can out of this. And then instead of going up and to the right, the sales would kind of just level off or maybe even go down, but we would have a whole lot more profit. And if you think back to like when we got kicked off of Amazon, we had a lot of profit that week. And it's because we turned off all our campaign. Now that's not sustainable long-term, but short-term, we can definitely generate some cash with that. And so I guess I would look at like, where can I get cash in the business? Gosh, we could send Travis back out on the advertising sales trail. He sold in the early days of the business. He sold a placement on the Gerd Chef. So I don't know. But in those early days, we spent a lot of effort just going like, where can we get some cash? And
it's fun. Yeah, it's fun because you like when you're low on cash, you get creative, super creative, and it's
join our Reflux Mastermind.
Where you too can complain. That's not off the table. But
Reflux Master. Like, okay, like here's what I want. Here's what I want from you guys. You guys aren't doing what I want.
I'm sorry.
Are you? I'm looking at it like one of those like, and I agree with what Deacon's saying. Like, it would be stupid to go reinvest in something that isn't getting the results you want originally, even though they're doing good enough. It's like, okay, what would you, I want to know if you had, and this might, I'm just gonna say it. If I was going to, this is gonna sound bad. I don't know how else to say it without you guys like taking a side door to answer my question in a more logical way. Join me in Fantasyland hypotheticals. Would you?
Okay, I will do it.
Okay. And Doc too. Doc's guilty of this too. All right. If I said, hey, turn this into $1 million brand, you will not be penalized for messing up, but I want you to use your geniuses that you've used in every other thing that you've done to turn this into $1 million brand in a year, or else I'm going to kill you. What?
That took a turn.
I know. That's what I was hoping you would bring out. I was like, yes, I got the big eyes from Deacon. He's in. All right. So what would you do? What would you stop doing, and what would you start doing to give you the best chance of getting there? And if I saw that you were giving your best chance getting there, you live. But if I go, oh, they're doing this like whatever it is that you guys were doing the past 5 minutes.
All right. So
like,
I'll take a stab at it just to tease you. Now, I never pour money into something that I know isn't going to return right away. I can't say never. I've done it many times, but
that's my job.
Yeah, I only always do this, but hold on.
Well, like we would never want to bring funding into the brand that we don't know that we could allocate it to just like take off. That's like point number one. But disregarding that, what I would do is you just raise your customer acquisition costs. So like you get more aggressive on all the ads you're doing already. We're already pretty aggressive. We're like 45% tacos with Reflux Essentials. And so we're super aggressive. You just get more aggressive and you start taking a loss. Now, this is hypothetically speaking, if cash was coming into our business, and we're trying to get to $1 million. And so it would be Reflux Essentials is where it's at. Like that's where we'd focus on. We'd scale it as much as we could, probably a certain ROAS number, probably like a break-even lifetime ROAS, because we got like 6 months of data now. So we could probably go down to like a 0.75 maybe and still break even lifetime. And so we'd just get more aggressive there. Second thing we'd do is we'd come out with products that have already existed that we've proven that could sell, Total Liver being the first one. But there's also the products that people are asking us for. Respiratory relief being the second one. Respiratory relief is something that it coincides with acid reflux because a lot of people get a cough. So that would be our next product. So we'd have 4 products now: Hiatal Health, Reflux Essentials, Total Liver, Respiratory Relief. And we'd pretty much be coming out with a new product every quarter if we had the cash. But we don't have the cash right now. But a new product every quarter, creating a perpetual sales machine behind them, getting aggressive, knowing our CAC, and knowing how high we can go with our customer acquisition cost, or CAC, because we have lifetime data. So we get lifetime data by repeat purchase rate and everything, and profit. So that's essentially what you're doing. And you're just repeating that process with a new product every single quarter. Create new product, create perpetual sales machine, move on. Create new product, create perpetual sales machine, move on. Create new product, create perpetual sales machine, move on. And so if you have the cash, that's what you do to get to $1 million. Now, I have a brand we're working with. They have one product that's a hero product. They have 2 products that are kind of duds. And they're like, let's keep putting money into these dud products. They've been out for over 2 years. And I was like, I think they're dead. Like, let's move on. I said, your game plan moving forward is new product every quarter, new product every quarter, new product every quarter. And we just keep marketing those to get them up. And you'll know if they're duds or not right away, or if they're winners. And so that's the game plan with them, to grow them, because they're doing well on that one product. It's one hero product. It's doing multi-millions, but they're going to plateau because they're pretty much number 1 on Amazon for all their main keywords. So new product every quarter, perpetual sales machine in place, move on. That's what I do.
What would you do, Deacon?
I would probably, so Travis just shared his strengths and playbook. I would probably go back to my strengths and playbook, which is actually on the Shopify side, not the Amazon side. I would probably go find a face for the brand that is like a reflux person. And I would pour all my effort into supporting them, getting their message out there, and then using that as the feedback loop for like, what are they saying that is helping sell the product? And then go all that back into just ad stuff. So it's hugely time intensive. So like also what is not being said here is that I would probably quit some other projects I'm working on, because that's how much time, effort, and energy it would take to focus on this. But I mean, Justice has my life on the line here, so I think that is worth it. That's
dude. Probably don't forget.
Yeah, I'm trying really hard here, and you said that's all that matters. So that's definitely why I went back to my strength. But yeah, that's where I would be focusing, is more just on that. Like we've kind of just been putting some stuff out there to sell Reflux Essentials. It's working, but we've never really gone back and spent much, if any, time optimizing that message or ads, or we have no we don't have a very strong ad engine on the like Facebook side of things. But
okay.
And that's where this creates fireworks, because Deacon is strength, Facebook ads, Shopify. I'm strength, Amazon shopping cart with Google ads and Amazon PPC. And then we find that product designer, and it will just work really well.
So is there anything, real quick, because I know Doc's got to go, and then Deacon, how much would you think it would cost to do what you just said that you would do if there was a gun to your head? How much would it cost you to get to $1 million? Theoretically,
cost?
Yes, we know there's all the.
It's the time, effort, and energy is opportunity cost that it would probably cost me.
That's what I thought on Deacon's, and I was like, this sounds brilliant, because it just sounds like opportunity cost. There isn't a ton of like financial, but on Travis's, I was like, this sounds like it'd be more. I'm not saying one is good, one's bad. I'm just finding
40,000, 50,000. I'm trying to think of iLove. Our first year, we invested $50,000 into it, and that's all we put in. So we first initially put in 10,000, and then we pulled investor money for another 40,000, 20,000 being me being an investor, and then we pulled in parents. And so we put in $50,000, and then we created a $1.2 million company the next year.
Well.
If I had that amount, that would definitely be easier, because it would be easier to get a face of the brand on board without being a performance-based thing. Like, you could just go hire somebody. But yeah, I guess I am unprepared to give a reasonable answer on cost, because I'm usually looking at it in terms of ad spend, where if there's not a return, I've pulled back.
This all feels doable, and 50 grand doesn't sound like that much. It sounds like a SBA loan.
Working capital loan.
Working capital
the
loan.
Time, effort, and energy is my problem. Like,
well, on Docs. Docs was like 50. Yours is time, energy, which would be like, oh, pay him to do it.
Yeah, working capital loan.
Yeah, working cap. Guys, am I solving problems here or what?
Here's the thing, though. When we say opportunity cost, is I could do the same or less time, effort, and energy on a different brand and get a bigger return.
100%. The only caveat I would have is that is not as guaranteed as I think we thought it was earlier on. There's so many variables that keep us from doing one or the other, of getting it that's out of our hands, of being able to acquire a brand that's out of our hands, that this could happen while we're still on an acquisition. It really wouldn't limit us on an acquisition, really, because the financial isn't that big of an amount. Some people might be listening and going, gosh, $50,000. It's like, well, that's not much. Especially if it has the potential to create $1 million top line brand. And what does that free us up to do? Do you know what I mean? Am I making too much sense or too little sense?
I get it. I think we're discounting the opportunity cost, which here.
What do you mean by that? Like,
well, like, how am I supposed to evaluate all these new deals that might come through if I've spent all my time, effort, and energy over here doing this other thing?
Good point. If you were compensated for that, would it make up for it? Or you're like, you can't create time?
No, as I have a finite limit on time.
Got it.
Now, for 100 grand, I could just have somebody else do the whole thing.
It's true.
Justice, you're looking at your face over there is sitting there like you have $100,000 and you're like, maybe I should just give it to him. No. Let me tell you what I think. Right now I feel really sensitive because I've got Doc. I know he's got like a next thing to go, but my mind's just kind of going like, hey, we've had potential deals, not a lot, and I know we're going to have a lot more soon, but I'm just noticing even with the people that I've talked to that are acquiring e-commerce brands, though it's so, the less patient you are, the more you open yourself up to getting a risky asset that actually takes more of your cash flow, more of your money. And so the real game is you being patient. Well, if you're going to be patient, how do we use our gifts to still create financial return? That's the way that I'm thinking about it, because I've just seen it. It's just like the people I'm talking to that have been in the game, it's just, and like, again, we're going to these websites and seeing what they have, and the people basically want you to make them, Warren Buffett and give you peanuts. It's kind of crazy what they're asking for on valuations for their brands. And it just wouldn't make sense for us. That's why I'm thinking this way.
Okay, it's not a bad thought. Yeah, it's not a bad thought.
Well, apparently it is. Deacon just said it was.